Mining Mongolia, an association with Mongolian Mining Journal. The top stories for Mining Mongolia. Licenses in the limelight. Untitled is progressing despite challenges. Coal exports up, but below estimate. Untitled IPO. Untitled Zhuhai Railway. And oil refinery. The government has announced that it will not award fresh geological exploration licenses in 2020, a sector that was expected to attract investment and foreign exchange. Today, Untitled accounts for more than 70% of total foreign direct investment. Politicians have repeatedly given dark hints on how they would like to annul or at least amend the Dubai Agreement and review the investment agreement, sending OT-related stocks on a dive. But this month, work on the underground production shaft was completed, making the year one of goods and bads for the Untitled project. Prices of copper and coal, the two minerals which are the main revenue source for the state, continued to be stable throughout the year, and together with increasing exports, this kept the economy going. However, even though coal exports rose for the fourth consecutive year, it did not meet goals, mainly because of China's green economy policy and Russia's ambition to target Asian markets. As for mega projects, the infrastructure building for the oil refinery project, implemented with a soft loan from the government of India, is complete, and work on construction of the refinery has started. Lack of railways has for long hindered exports, and work on the Untitled Zhuhai route finally began this year under President Bato's direct supervision. Both the President and the Prime Minister made several foreign visits, seeking the way out of a single market dependence for exports. The head of state paid official visits to China, the United States, Russia and India, and established a strategic partnership with the US. President Putin of Russia visited Mongolia after 5 years, and the two countries have advanced to a comprehensive strategic partnership. During his own visit to Russia, the Prime Minister of Mongolia signed a memorandum of understanding with Gazprom to explore opportunities for laying natural gas pipelines through Mongolia. Mining is certain to be the main topic also in 2020, when it's expected to earn 3.2 trillion Mongolian tugrus, or 24% of the budget revenue. It will also be a year when Mongolia has a respite from repaying foreign debt. A new parliament will be elected. Mining Mongolia, an association with Mongolian Mining Journal. The major political decisions on mining licenses taken in the past year. Following the Prime Minister's direction, the head of the government secretariat, Untitled Chapter, with intelligence and special local military units, organized a special operation to revoke licenses valid until 2043 and 2047 for the use of gold and silver Serge deposits. Untitled Chapter announced that the Selkut, Askhut and Tsarangirgin deposits had been taken under state ownership and transferred to Erdenes Mongol, which had been charged with putting these deposits into economic circulation. The government instructed the head of the government secretariat, Oyungerten, and the Minister of Mining and Heavy Industry, Somyabazar, to transfer the licenses of some strategically important mineral deposits to Erdenes Mongol. The government decides to impose a 6-month emergency at the Erdenes factory to implement the National Security Council's recommendations. The Prime Minister leads the urgently created working group for this, and he and Oyungerten visit the plant where, following discussions with the director and senior executives of the Department of State Property Policy and Regulation, Oyungerten seals 9 rooms and also announces new restructuring measures. Erdenes becomes a state-owned plant. The emergency was extended for another 6 months and continues to this day. The head of the President's office, Mr. Inkpold, reveals that the National Security Council had recommended that all deposits explored with budgetary funds should be returned to the state in accordance with the constitutional provision that the natural resources are owned by the people. There are more than 400 such deposits, including Tsaran-Sovrog, Selkut and Askhut. The government is to have a contract with the company that built the mine in the Tsaran-Sovrog deposit, under which the state will reimburse the company the costs it incurred for extraction, and the deposit will be transferred to the state. Inkpold also says the same principle will apply in the case of the other deposits. Minister of Environment and Tourism Tirmbat announces that the government has decided to cancel 23 licenses held by 19 entities that were acting in contravention of laws on the environment. The government would ask the companies to pay for the environmental damage they were caused in the way prescribed in law. A working group led by the Deputy Prime Minister will examine the licenses to decide on the course of action. He also warns that all licenses issued illegally would be cancelled. The Supreme Court directs the Cadastral Division of MRPAM to revoke 4 licenses originally owned by Centerra Gold Mongolia, ruling that its earlier refusal to do so had no legal basis. To recall, Toronto-listed Centerra Gold announced on October 12, 2018, that it had sold its business assets in Mongolia to Singapore's OZD Asia Pte. For $35 million. These included the Boro Gold Mine and Processing Plant and the Gatsort Gold Project. The government decides not to issue any fresh license for mineral exploration for 1 year. Also, a 14-member working group led by Deputy Prime Minister Ing Tushing has been given 100 days to review 2,889 licenses and prepare a central database. Reaction to this has been mixed. Ulzi Bayer, chairwoman of the Mongolian Securities Traders Association, told Mongolian Mining Journal that all information about companies that are being alleged to have damaged the environment, not conducted rehabilitation activities, or not paid taxes must be disclosed.
Mongolia is very rich of mineral resources, so there are many foreign investors out there still looking at Mongolia, looking for potential investment in Mongolia. But, for example, the recent case of government, revoking some licenses, mining and exploration licenses, still there is no clear information on what companies, for example, violated some certain laws or regulation, which companies, for example, caused the environmental degradation.
Regretting that the system of the due process of law and unbiased enforcement is missing in Mongolia today, she said The clearest example of this was seen in the way licenses are revoked, seemingly in an arbitrary manner. Licenses have been cancelled on the ground that a company caused environmental damage when, as a matter of fact, the company was yet to start extraction.
Just the recent case, for example, the government revoked some licenses, some mining licenses and exploration licenses. If you see the documents, there are some companies who never mined, who never started their operation yet,
The buyer also wondered why no explanation has been sought from those who granted licenses in what is now being said in an illegal way, or from inspection officials on why they never reported cases of environmental destruction as this happened. Why should they not be penalized for not doing their work? The buyer reminded politicians that their actions must be within the framework of the law, not just to please the people. Unilateral cancellation of licenses on unsubstantiated allegations is no way to attract foreign investment, she said. Bilgung, chairman of the Mongolian National Mining Association, has warned that the current exploration licenses would expire in the next 2 to 3 years, and a situation is being created where the concept of geological exploration would disappear in Mongolia. He believes that the only way for a mining-based economy to grow is by exporting more, which would increase foreign currency cash flow, create more jobs, and develop other sectors. The way to do this is to encourage investment in geology and exploration. Projects currently in the extraction or exploration stage are deposits discovered before 2016. Some of these showcase Mongolia's mineral potential to the world and draw the interest of international investors. If sustainably implemented, they will be the main source of the exports that would feed the economy in the future. This is why geological studies have to lead the mining sector by 10 to 30 years. Currently, 20% of the territory of Mongolia has information on mineral reserves. The results of the exploration work must be good for investors to be aware of Mongolian mining opportunities. In 2010, more than 40 Mongolian mining companies, including MMC, Hunukal, Aspire Mining, Voyager, Wild Petroleum, traded on the global stock exchange.
This was when the Mongolian economy was roaring, with a GDP growth of 17.3%, foreign investment at a record high, and the foreign exchange rate stable.
In 2012, we saw a marked reduction in that.
Hadley Widdop, executive director of Australia's Lion Selection Group, in his presentation at Discover Mongolia 2019, noted that compared to 2016, the global trend of investing in the mining sector or buying shares of companies operating in the sector is increasing. The first phase of the global market growth cycle is ongoing. The demand for raw materials used for batteries and gold production is increasing. Considering his words, during this favorable period of mineral exploration, Mongolia has been closing its only sector to attract investment rather than opening it wider. Our country is short of money. The higher interest rates in the banks and the stronger exchange rates are dependent on the market system and the demand and supply of money. Prices go up if supply doesn't meet the demand. Money must be poured into the economy to meet demand. We must have foreign investment to implement mega projects that will support the economy.
The economy lacks of money. The economy needs money to pour in it. How do we get the capital, the market needs? So we need, of course, foreign direct investment. We need financing from international institutions, financial institutions, right? And if we compare the economy, with the human body, for example, our main sectors of economy, for example, if in human body, the heart is the main organ, then, in our economy, for example, the mining sector is the heart, and then construction sector is the, for example, liver, and the agriculture might be the kidney, for example, And the blood supplies, oxygen and nutrition to all these organs, for example, main organs. So the blood is the money in the economy. So if the body lacks the blood, the body dies. So that's the economy, exactly that's the way the economy behaves also. So the economy needs the blood, the money to exist and develop.
Mining Mongolia. An association with Mongolian Mining Journal.
Tsambatskano. My name is Armando Torres, Chief Executive Officer of Otugoi, a strategic partnership between Rio Tinto, Government of Mongolia, and Turkish Resources. We are running a world-class open-pit operations in the Mongolian region as we progress with underground development. Once we reach full production, Otugoi is set to become one of the top 3 copper mines in the world. Otugoi is a flagship project of Mongolia, and it has already become one of the key contributors of the Mongolian economy.
It has been a challenging but successful year for the Untitled project. The investment agreement signed 10 years ago has always been a divisive issue in Mongolia. A working group was set up in March to thoroughly review the investment agreement of 2009, the shareholders agreement of 2011, and the Dubai agreement of 2015. It has now submitted its report calling for cancellation of only the last. With almost near unanimity, Parliament has approved a resolution saying work on the OT project should proceed with a proviso that the government must ensure more and better benefits for Mongolia by seeking to improve the terms of the other current agreements. On the ground, completing work on the production shaft by the end of the year is seen as an important milestone for the underground mine construction. Final figures for December are not yet in, but it seems coal export would be around 5 million tons less than the 42 million tons estimated in the 2019 budget, though more than 36 million tons exported last year. China's import restrictions in the last quarter is one reason for this. Li Zhongming, Vice President of the China Shipping Association, has said,
Chinese coking coal imports range from 60 to 70 million tons per year and unlikely to increase in the next few years.
Can Mongolia do this? Australia's exports to China are on shaky ground, but if this creates opportunities for Mongolia, it does so for Russia also. Wang Yele, an analyst at S&P Global Platts, says Mongolia's chances being affected by logistics problems. Mongolian border ports' throughput capacity has not increased, and Russia is an ambitious and aggressive competitor. When he was in China and Russia this year, President Batulga familiarized himself with conditions in the seaports of both countries and explored the possibility of Mongolia using them to export coal to third markets. The feasibility study of a project on the joint construction of a coal terminal in the port of Zarubino in the Russian Far East was handed over him in Vladivostok by the Russian company Feskov. This envisions setting up the first phase of the terminal in 2022 with a capacity of handling 6 million tons of coal, which 2 years later would go up to 10 million tons.
Дэмжлэг үзүүлж байгаа дахин талархал илэрхийлье. Бид одоо хичээж ажиллах болно.
On July 9th, the government took a decision to set up a new daughter company of Ertnes-Tavun-Tolgoi and to name it Ertnes-Tavun-Tolgoi Mining. It will operate in the eastern part of Tsang, which contains 795 million tons of good quality coking coal. Ertnes-Tavun-Tolgoi will own no less than 70% of the subsidiary and the rest will be on offer at the long-awaited IPO. ETT Mining presented a report on its progress so far the government in the first week of December 2019, after which a new team under Executive Director Narunku has been put in charge of fully completing all preparatory work of the IPO by February 2020. The mining minister has reported on the ongoing successful preparation for the IPO and on the selection of financial, legal, technical and marketing consultants. Currently, Merrill Lynch, Credit Suisse and Nomura of Japan are the three banks chosen to work for the IPO, and regular progress is being made to meet stock market requirements. Ertens Taundalga, which is 85% government-owned, made a profit of 807 billion Mongolian Turks in 2018 and 1 trillion MNT in 2019. It's one of the assets of Ertens Mongol, which operates under the direct management of the government and now has 15 subsidiaries. In 2019, it acquired 100% ownership of the uranium miner Mong Atom, set up Ertens Gold Resource and Ertens Silver Resource, and also Rare Earth Element Research Unit.
За бид нар өчигдөр энүүгээр явсан. Ингээд аж ахуйн нэгжүүд бол ингээд эндээс гайгүй байна. Таван толгоос энэ
The president has highlighted the importance of building the 414.6-kilometer Taun Tolgoi Zumbaing Railway to reach third markets and also to increase the number of export gateways. The decision on the construction of a railway from Taun Tolgoi deposit to Zumbaing in Dorngo province was officially made in April 2019. The president is personally interested that the railway is built on a schedule, and since that time work began in May, he checks out its progress every month. The railway is likely to play an important role in his re-election bid, giving him an opportunity to raise the memory of how he had used up $280 million on embankments and such for the 267-kilometer Taun Tolgoi Qashun Suhat railway. The oil refinery is coming up in Som Dorngo province. Infrastructure work, including 27-kilometer of railway, 17.2-kilometer of roadway able to carry 100 tons of load and connected to the national road network, and 100 kilowatt overhead transmission lines has been completed. Foundation work and leveling work of the plant is also done. Currently, 550 living units for the plant's workers are being built. The refinery, financed by the Indian government, will be capable of producing 1.5 million tons of products per year, according to the pre-feasibility study. With the successful completion of the project in 2023, Mongolia will not have to import fuel, saving precious foreign currency. Local budget revenue will be increased by $150 million and 600 new jobs will be created. The refinery will be the basis of a potential petrochemical industry in Mongolia and also of an industrial complex, which would include the iron ore processing plant with a wet magnetic separator currently under construction in Altenjuretsum.